everything's under the lens of God is in control. God is doing these things. There are spiritual beings at work. So we're going to go back up there to the skies. We're going to talk about the stars. All right, so stars, more than flaming gas balls, because they don't understand these as flaming gas balls. They have no idea that there's these balls of gas up there burning. It's a whole other world up there. So established on day 4 with the sun and moon. Now, I think most of us at least know that ancient cultures tend to worship the sun and the moon. There were gods associated with that. It's because they linked, as ancient people believed, that because God is up there, and there are these things shine up there, that they must be associated with the gods, and by that I mean Elohim in some way. There must be some relation between them and spiritual beings. So what we find in day 4 is that they're given tasks to give time for seasons. Does not mean the 4 seasons. That's not what that means. The word is tied to festivals and meeting places. It's their way of being able to tell what the Jewish calendar is. Signs, which we can get into that in a minute, and days and years. So they're ultimately there to help them know when things are. That's what the light is for. What's interesting though is that they're there to aid in separating day and night. But there's already a light doing that on day 1. God passes this task off to the sun and moon. It's kind of weird. He says, because day 1 there's light, but the sun doesn't come until day 4. And then day 4, he tells the sun, your job is to rule the day. Moon, your job is to rule the night. The word signs also translates as symbols and banners. It's the same word used when at the burning bush. God tells Moses, this will be a sign for you. This event right here, and then when you come back here again, it'll be like the flames. This will be a sign for you. This word, signs and banners and symbols, refer to the fact this will resemble God. This is supposed to resemble me, Mike, with you. Day 4, there's the emanating light of God that the prophets decide. They're like, okay, this is God's emanating light. That's what they kind of thought of it. And then you have the sun and moon given this task, and then the stars appear, and they're given this task to do the very thing that the light day 1's already doing. They're told to be the signs and symbols. They're told to be the thing that points to him because they represent the very thing that he was doing the first day, which is why they would associate that up there with angelic beings. Hence why they're called sons of God, because it's like his heavenly children are up there. This is his heavenly. It's almost kind of like a synonym for the image bearers down here. They're the ones that resemble him up there. We resemble him down here. They reflect him. We reflect him. Their job is to be pointing to him. And sometimes you'll have in stories where say the stars are like out of order. They're doing things because they're saying what they're saying is like the heavenly hosts are acting up. They're going against God, or like because you have the 3 rebellions in Genesis 1 and Genesis alone before the end of the 11th chapter. There's 3 major rebellions that take place within the spiritual world. It's interesting. It's also translated as king. Angels are sometimes associated as princes and kings over things. If you read Daniel, it calls Michael a prince or a king, depending on your translation. But Michael's an angel. They're rulers of some sort because. We'll get into this another day. They had a connection with ruling over everything. So I'm going to read this for you guys because I know it's a little, at least it's small for me. This comes from Dictionary of Deities and Demons. It's a great resource. The identification of personified stars with angels of the heavenly host is well accepted within a totally monotheistic religious system. The stars stand in God's presence to the right and to the left of his thrones, based on 1 Kings 22 and 19, 2 Chronicles 18 and 18 as well. They serve him, found in Psalm 103:21 and Nehemiah 9:6. And at the head of the heavenly host stands a prince of the army, found in Joshua and Daniel. Probably the highest star and the farthest from the earth, even if the actual leader is God, to whom the starry army belongs. From this conception derives this sanctum Lord God of hosts, occurring in numerous biblical passages. And they're saying if because depending your religion you're in, either it's God, Yahweh, or it's El, or it's Ra. So they're just talking about like the world in general. Like if it's Yahweh, then it's this, but if it's not Yahweh, then they've viewed it the same way in other worlds. But it's the heavenly hosts, which is interesting when you go to Genesis 2. It says that he put the hosts in their place. Well, we're hosts down here. They're hosts up there. They're called heavenly hosts frequently. Hosts also translated as armies in some facets. It's They're tied. Michael Heiser states the point of star language for divine members of the heavenly host should be obvious. The members of Yahweh's hosts are not of earth. They are celestial, transcendent beings whose home is in the heavenly realm, the abode of God. I mean, how else do you really explain all those lights up there? Like we now know, like, okay, they're just balls of gas and then they explode. Sometimes black holes come, sometimes new things come, but they have a lifespan. But down here, we just see there's lights in the sky. And if they already think God is up there, well, those lights have to do something. And if God is the ultimate source of light, and there's many lights, then they must be the angelic beings. Or in other places, they must be the gods. Hence why you have like these connections towards constellations saying like, oh, they resemble the gods, because it's where the gods are. So star verses, just a few. We didn't read this one, so we can't do this one. Genesis 1, 14 through 19, Genesis 2, Judges 5:20, Job 38, and then Jeremiah 8:2. There's so many passages that we kind of get confused by, and then we go like, oh, that's just way too academic. You know, let them deal with that. I'm gonna humble all of us real quick. This was not academic for the authors and the recipients. This is just their world. It's academic for us because we live in post-Enlightenment Western society where we describe things so differently. We have a different view of the world. All this is different for us, but it's not incorrect. It's just the fact that it's communicating very specific things about one theology and the world around them, and they did not view as theology as a separate subject as the world. Like we view like biology, theology. For them, theology and biology, even though biology wasn't really a thing, but if we were to say they were a thing together, they were a thing together. Everything's under the lens of God is in control. God is doing these things. There are spiritual beings at work. Evil's influenced by spiritual, like everything's with the lens, as he says, the spiritual world.